You click on an investing video, watch for a moment, then close it because deep down it feels like investing is only for people with more money than you. Other people discuss stocks, ETFs, volatility, and portfolios while you are still calculating whether your bank balance can survive until payday. The easiest answer becomes waiting for a bigger paycheck before thinking about risk, compounding, or any long-term plan. Then another year passes, followed by another, and the only thing growing consistently is the list of responsibilities. The truth is that most people are not waiting for money. They are waiting for a feeling that tells them they are finally ready. Unfortunately, feeling ready is difficult because every stage of life creates a new reason to delay the decision. At the margin, we focus on how small financial decisions quietly shape outcomes long before the results become visible. Today, we explore why many people fail to start investing long before they ever face their first drawdown or market risk. One of the most common beliefs in personal finance is that investing is only for people who already have a lot of money. Nobody says it directly, but success stories often focus on the final numbers instead of the beginning. We constantly see six-figure portfolios and million-dollar assets displayed as the headline. What rarely appears is the ordinary starting point where those investors look just like everyone else. As a result, many people treat investing as something they should do later after reaching a higher financial level. In reality, investing is not a reward for becoming wealthy, but one of the tools that can help build wealth over a long time horizon. Believing you must be rich before investing is like believing you must become an athlete before exercising. Yet millions of people keep waiting for ideal circumstances that may never fully arrive. Meanwhile, time keeps moving forward, and unlike money, it cannot be earned back after it is gone. The biggest cost is often not market volatility or risk, but the years lost to delaying the first step. Most people think the biggest barrier to investing is a lack of money, but psychology often creates a much larger obstacle. We tend to exaggerate the importance of starting capital while underestimating the value of long-term behavior. The human brain prefers results that appear quickly, so big leaps often feel more attractive than small steps. Investing works almost in reverse because it rewards consistency far more than occasional spectacular moves. Early consistency feels boring because no one celebrates the first $15 invested. Yet that quiet habit is where the foundation is built, because long-term compounding grows from repetition rather than luck. Ironically, many people spend small amounts every day without hesitation, but consider the same amount too small for investing. That is not really a math problem, but a perception problem shaped by how we interpret small numbers. We often judge actions by immediate results even when their true value may take years to appear. Investing is one of the clearest examples of this principle because compounding rewards patience long before it becomes visible. Meet Alex, a young office worker with an ordinary salary who assumes investing can wait until life feels more comfortable. He keeps telling himself that investing should begin after the next raise, which sounds completely logical at the time. 2 years later, his income is higher, but his expenses seem to have climbed the same staircase. Now, the reason changes because he wants a larger emergency fund before taking any investment risk. Years later, that goal is achieved, yet another priority quietly takes its place. A house, a car, vacations, and new responsibilities compete for attention while investing stays on the waiting list. The surprising problem is not a lack of money, but a habit of waiting for the perfect moment. Every stage of life offers a reasonable excuse, and reasonable excuses are rarely examined closely. Eventually, he realizes he was never truly waiting for more money, but for certainty. The challenge is that life rarely becomes simple, which makes long-term compounding easier to delay than to start. Most people think investing starts with buying an asset, but the real starting point is building a process that can survive for the long term. Every investing journey begins with income, whether that paycheck feels large, small, or somewhere in between. The next step is margin, the small space between what comes in and what quietly goes back out. Many people rush toward assets, forgetting that every productive asset is first created by a protected margin. When that margin appears consistently, habits begin to form, and habits often outperform short bursts of motivation. Over time, those habits create capital, and even small amounts can grow when given enough time horizon. Capital can then be placed into productive assets, where compounding allows money to contribute part of the work. As assets grow through volatility and time, they gradually create more choices, and choices are the first form of financial freedom. The framework is simple. Income becomes margin, margin becomes habit, habit becomes capital, capital becomes assets, and assets create freedom. Wealth rarely starts with a large portfolio. It usually starts with creating a small space for consistency and protecting it over time. People often point to Warren Buffett as proof of extraordinary wealth, but they usually miss the part that matters most. Most of his wealth came from staying invested for decades, not from finding a single perfect investment. The final number gets attention, while the decades of quiet repetition are mostly ignored. This is a reminder that compounding often rewards patience more than brilliance. Even small amounts can look surprisingly different when given a long enough time horizon. A large amount invested late often loses the advantage that only time can provide. In investing, time is not a bonus feature. It is the engine behind compounding. Every year spent waiting reduces the amount of work compounding can do, and lost years are difficult to replace. Many beginners focus on finding a bigger amount of money instead of building a consistent habit first. The small habit is not the reward itself. It is the ticket into the long-term game. Successful investing is often less about math and more about identity because people invest consistently when they start seeing themselves as investors. That identity does not appear after building a large portfolio. It begins with the very first decision to invest. When someone saves and invests a small amount regularly, the future starts earning a place in today's budget. From the outside, the change looks small, but psychologically, it can reshape how a person thinks about money and time horizon. Every small investment sends the same message: my future is worth planning for, even during uncertain times. Over time, that message shapes new behaviors, and those behaviors often produce different long-term outcomes. Investing is not only about money growing through compounding. It is also about discipline becoming stronger over time. The longer the habit survives market volatility and distractions, the more natural it begins to feel. Eventually, investing stops feeling like a special activity and becomes a normal part of everyday life. And that shift in identity may be the most valuable outcome, regardless of portfolio size or temporary drawdowns. Many people feel poor because their account balance looks small, while their most valuable asset is often hiding in plain sight. That asset is time, and its value usually becomes obvious only after much of it has already passed. Young adults often think they lack enough money to invest, yet they already possess something even wealthy investors cannot buy back. They have decades ahead of them, and long time horizons are often rewarded more than people expect. Every year used early creates compounding opportunities that are difficult to fully replace later. Investing is really a partnership between money and time usually does more of the heavy lifting. Unfortunately, people find it easier to count dollars than years, which makes this asset easy to overlook. Once someone understands this, the focus shifts away from amounts and toward consistent long-term habits. When the focus changes, investment decisions become simpler because progress does not require perfection. The goal is not to start perfectly, but to begin before time quietly moves forward without you. If you've been waiting for a bigger paycheck before investing, you're far from alone because millions of people are making the same calculation every month. The more important question is not when you'll have more money, but when you'll give your future a place in today's decisions. Investing begins long before wealth arrives because it starts the moment someone stops waiting for perfect conditions. Perfect conditions rarely arrive because life keeps introducing new bills, risks, and uncertainty at every stage. What separates many successful long-term investors is often not their starting amount, but their willingness to begin earlier. Small actions can create surprisingly large outcomes when they are given enough time to compound and develop. If you enjoy exploring money, psychology, and the realities behind modern work, the margin is where those conversations continue. So, what's the biggest reason you've delayed investing, and what might help you finally take that first step today?